Hey guys, still here. Welcome back to the next episode of the Platypus, or maybe I should say the last episode of the Platypus, as my plan is for this time to turn the Platypus into a surface warfare combatant, because I find that the whole submarine thing works extremely well. Now, in the meanwhile, between recordings, I have not done anything to the sub. I have taken the sub to a higher difficulty plane. It's currently in 1.33, and the last time you saw it was in 1.23, I think. And I got a little bit more in the sense of kills and resources. So I now have 9,000 points in reserve, and I have quite a decent amount of weaponry and stuff that I can sell. And especially these RTGs are going to be really, really valuable. So this episode is going to be a massive redesign, and I'm going to turn it into a surface combatant, something along the lines of either a cruiser or a frigate, something in between. So, say goodbye to the Platypus, because this is the last thing you'll ever see of her. And on the one hand, I hate to do it, because it is just a submarine that works really, really well. But there does not seem to be much of a challenge. And that's the thing that I find to be making the videos a bit less interesting. It's just too easy. I can go into any arena and go, oh look, a ship, and I can kill it pretty much instantly. And that's too easy. There's just no challenge. Actually, before I start chopping up my ship, I'm going to have to install some more material storages, because that bow is pretty expensive. So, my dear Platypus, you have served me well, but this is the end for us. And there goes the bow. Now, it's going to be tricky redesigning this thing, because on the one hand, I do have more or less the safety of the depths. On the other hand, it's going to be a radically different design, because a submarine is basically, well, in the way that I have set it up, a box, which works. But what you want to have for a ship is something more along the lines of a decent hull. I could, though, make most of the lower area into, let's say, the base of my hull. It's going to be a really, really wide warship, though, if I do, and that's not what I want to have happen. I want to make this a sleeker warship, while still having enough width to make sure that it doesn't roll too heavily when I fire the guns. So instead, we're going to have to redesign the next part of the ship at the bow of the previous submarine. And then, once the next section is done, I'm going to be working my way back, in the sense that the rear of the submarine is going to get broken down bit by bit. I'm going to make it a bit of a box design initially. And the reason for that is that it is pretty much the easiest way that I have found to build a ship. You can go with hull design and especially bow design initially, but just having a standard box shape can make it a bit more interesting, and definitely a lot faster. And another easy part, I can just select the filler and fill a whole lot of the design out for me, without having to worry about manually placing every single beam. So what you're looking at now, whoops, is the size of the ship. There we go, that's one section being built. There's the other section. Deck plating. There. It's exhausting my supplies pretty quickly, but I still have so much left that I'm really not worried. I'm going to be going for downward slopes here in order to make this thing quite hydrodynamic. Let's have them here, so I can still have quite a bit of the ship underwater and yet not be too easy to penetrate on the side of the ship. That is critical. It's also counting as a bit of sloped armor, in the sense that if a fast projectile hits me, I have a moderate chance of it actually bouncing off. If it's going to be a cramshell, then I'm in a whole world of trouble, because cramshells usually find their way through because they're just so slow. They don't really get stopped that easily. I want to have a lead beam over here, a couple more. This is going to be the bow of the ship. And constantly filling out more, of course. This could take a while, this whole redesign, but in the end it's going to be worth it. It's going to make it a lot more interesting, as I'm going to be using turrets, I'm going to be using a heavy gun system, some of which might be installed by using prefabs. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with full manual turret builds, because some of these automated turrets that they have are actually quite good. And I really enjoy using those in, let's say, the off-screen gameplays that I do. Okay, so that fixes that. Then we're going to need one more of those. A couple of down slopes or down beams. This area of the hull, by the way, currently is really vulnerable. If one of these things goes, then the entire hull is going to fall apart, especially bow section. And I need to make sure that doesn't happen. So the bow is going to be pretty heavily reinforced, because too often has it happened to me that the bow has just broken off. It's not a pretty sight to see. It's going to take a lot of resources to get that thing fixed up. So this is what I mean. I'm going to have reinforced bow sections. And also, because one area is flat and the other is vertical, these things are more likely to hold. They're less likely to break off, the way that you have seen happen in some of the previous videos that I've done. Alright, finally a triangle corner like that. Let's go with a downward slope. A couple more downward slopes. Another couple of beams here. And on the bow I want to have a downward slope as well. That's the 3 meter, this is the 4 meter, like that. Another one, and another one. So that's the bow of the ship. Gotta make sure that this thing, once again, is heavily armored. Because there's a lot of metal in this. I don't want to have it break off. Alright, that should do for now. Now let's start stripping away multiple parts of the sub, as I'm going to need a lot of metal for this one. And of course the metal is not really that valuable. Weapon systems, and especially RTGs, are way more interesting for buying new stuff. There we go, back up to 4,000. I could make the rear of the ship stop pretty much here. So this is going to be the end of the ship, or the stern section. And one more, oops, over here. Like that. And finally one more layer here. Come on, not over there, here. It's going to be a pretty sizable warship by the looks of it. It may be a lot bigger than I had initially envisioned. Which is going to be really expensive. And I really hope that I have enough materials. Maybe I've outdone myself slightly in the design choices. Anyway, let's start moving up the propulsion section. So first the engineering section. Bye propellers. Then let's take off a couple of these RTGs and put them at the back of the ship here. Remove some of these batteries, I don't need them anymore. Another RTG. There we go, 12,000 points of resources. Now we're talking. Let's go with a couple of batteries. Power's coming back up. Those I no longer need. That system I can take off. Whoa, you're really kidding me, right? I'm taking fire? Yeah, no, I'm not taking fire. So something detonated. Rather close to my character, actually. but I don't see any contacts. Insofar as I can see anything. Seems to have been more of a bit of a glitch than anything else. And it would be nice if I could actually survive. The bow seems to be, or actually the new part of the ship seems to be in perfect working condition. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, resource storages. Metal storage large. You can jam those into the engineering department as well. What the hell? Oh. I'm on the bottom. I think that my ammunition storages are getting blown up. I think that's the problem. It's like they're having a bit of friction from the seabed, and that is causing, there we go, significant detonations. Yep, I'm sinking into the seabed, which shouldn't cause any detonations. But a lot of these parts, not liking it. Which means that I'm going to have to speed up the design. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a bit of trouble. And I cannot surface either. Because if I try to surface, there's a good chance that I'm going to get destroyed very, very soon. Let's take off these parts. There's the electric engine. I still need that. Over there. Can cut off more parts of the hull here. It's another segment. Now I don't have any ammo storage, so I should not be taking any more damage. Should not. Famous last words, that. Reinforce this area, because I hadn't properly reinforced the top sections yet. And what am I going to do with this bow? I cannot exactly put ammunition into it, because it's going to blow up the moment I get hit. I cannot really... Actually, I might be able to put a couple of missiles on it. A couple of vertical missile tubes. Let's go with that. It's going to be a really, really deep missile launcher. So we're going to have a couple of connectors here. Then a few launch pads. 5 like that. A couple of gantries. 3, 4, 5. It's a pretty sizable missile. That's 6. I think that might be a bit too much. But for medium range anti-air missiles, I think it's gonna be decent. And one more over here. There we go. Let's give that thing a controller. Controller in that direction. There we go. Okay, now we have missile gantries over there. Perfect. That's a decent way to use the bow. Alright, look at that. Where's the rest of my ship? Or sub? It's just gone. All of these sections, I can take these off as well. You know, on some level I feel guilty. I mean, I spent so much time building this thing, and now I'm just breaking it all off. It's just... It seems like a bit of a waste, you know? It seems like a bit of... What are you doing? This is something that you spent so much time on. This is where my AI is going to be. Mainframe. I have a few card slots for the target prioritization, and we don't need mirror mode for that, as well as an aim point selector. I also want to have a few more connectors so that I can install some general processing cards. This thing is going to have quite a few sensors on it. Generally a lot more than the amount I had on the Submarine. Now you have 8 processing power. I think we can go better than that. And we've got now 12. That's getting closer to where I want to be. And we need a wireless transmitter for this thing. Right. So we can get this ship moving forward if I like to. I have energy. I don't have propulsion yet. I have storage on this ship. And I think it's time to start moving more elements towards the bow section. Or towards the new ship section. Where am I? Okay, my character is really tripping. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Use the magnetic boots, please. Okay. Chair. Really important. Captain's chair. It's just a temporary setup because I need to be able to not get blown off of my ship as I'm building it. Alright, I can delete those, and those, and those. Yep. The AI can go. The controllers can go. Basically, the rest of the submarine can get deleted now. And I still need quite a few resources because I still don't have any weapons on the new ship. 18,000 points of resources. Yep. I'm sorry, Platypus, but this is it for you. This is going to be the last bit of the hull that's getting deleted. It's been a pleasure, sir. So much for it. Give me a heartstone before I end up dying. Okay, 20,000 points of resources. Time to have some fun with guns. First up, though, how am I going to build the guns? What caliber, what size, what weapon type? I'm considering going for the advanced cannons. That's definitely the first decision. I found that cram cannons just have too little range. They're not that good. And this is where I'm going to build my turret. Now, I usually just cordon off the area around it, so at least I know what kind of area I have to build in. Because otherwise my turrets are going to be really messy. So this thing is going to have it's going to be a 5x5 turret. So, like that. That's the area I have for my turret. Let's cordon off this section. It's a bit dark, unfortunately. But so be it. Okay. Back to the turret design. Where to start? I'm gonna make this a 2-section turret. Or 2 separate guns on it. Let's have a few metal beams. Then a metal block on each end. I don't really have a clear-cut plan for this. I just build usually as I go along. Which probably is not the best way to do it, but I usually get away with it. The splitter. There. Then we're going to use a ton of gauge increasers. 120mm, 179, 236, 239, 348, 402. Let's go for 2 barrels. And now I have a 201mm gun. Times 2. So that's 4 barrels on the bow. I also want to have a couple of mantlets. I don't think that these things are going to be too good in the far as AA sense goes, but it depends on the ammo. And I think that if I load the right ammo, I could actually use them as AA guns. And a couple of muzzle brakes in them. There we go. So that is the turret. Now we need to go with the insides of the turret. I'm going to have an autoloader. It's going to be firing 3-meter shells at best. I don't think I have much more room than that. Let's have one over there. Then an ammo clip for 3-meter rounds. It's not connected. Now it's connected. That one's connected as well. Good. Then, very important, ammo input feeders. A couple like that. That should give the system enough ammo. I'm going to have long hydraulic absorbers. Because while the ship is pretty heavy, I would hate to have this thing rocking everywhere when it is just trying to fire the guns. Not recommended. And then go with some more gauge increasers, and especially the cooling units are going to be important here. The more I can cool the barrels of the guns, the more I can fire them. Now, how am I going to do this? I have plenty of room. I'm going to keep the bottom area open, so I don't have anything there. I can have one of them over there. Then a couple of cooling units. It's not going to be the most effective turret, but I can always improve that as I'm going along. One like that. I can have another cooling unit here. And one over there. More cooling units. At some point I'm going to have to do a test run in the sense of, can this thing still turn? Which is quite important, but I believe that currently it has that capacity. It can still turn. More cooling units. If you guys have any tips, by the way, please give those in the comments down below, because I'm not the best at building turrets. I think I excel at building submarines. Okay, let's have a look. Will this thing turn? I don't think so. I need to get up there. I need to see if this thing will actually spin. Whoa! No! Damn it. Can I move to my chair? Yes. Good. Yeah, these things won't go. Actually, no. They're too big. I think that it's this section over here. That is the problem. Let's take this part off. Will it turn now? Oh, damn it. This is getting annoying. Yeah, it won't really turn that far. That's probably down to some of these sections on the sides. See, I'm not that good at turret design. Really not that good at turret design. Let's see how much I need to take off of this thing before it actually does want to turn. There we go. Now it does want to turn. So that's good. Now I need to make sure it has all the required compartments. It has an ammo rack. It does have some coolers, but not nearly enough. I can go way better with that. Okay, so this thing I'm going to need to take off. Is it set to mirror mode? Now it is. Another cooling unit. And another splitter set to up and down. Coolers. Although I don't really have that much room here. Okay, for now that's going to be the turret. I'm also going to give this turret something that's a bit unusual, at least in my designs, but I'm going to give it its own ammo controller. And that way I know that if some of my ammo controllers get hit elsewhere, that this thing won't be impacted. And I mean impact in the sense that it doesn't lose its own weapon configuration. It doesn't lose its shells. Okay, so we got 201mm guns. That's important here. We're going to have this thing set up as an AP-HE round. So a couple of HEs and an AP capped head. 201. I need 2 meter shell length, so I can go even bigger than this one. In that case, I can go with more gunpowder, because the faster the shell, or actually the higher the speed of the shell, the more kinetic energy it transfers. There, 3-meter shell rack required for this 2412 meter shell. Does 3,804 kinetic damage, 1,000 AP or explosive. How about adding a base bleeder? It's a bit better. Shell velocity 540 meters per second and range 6,500. Here's the thing though, I can have all of that range and it still might not serve me. Because I might be able to fire at that distance, but I need to be able to see the targets at that distance, and that's going to be something that's getting a bit critical. I don't know if I can even detect targets out to 6 clicks. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Alright, let's cover this turret up. It is feeling a little bit naked the way it is right now. Let's go with a couple of downward slopes like that. There's a whole section of the hull that I first need to close off. I think that's going to be a 3 meter. Yep, that's better. Then, can I go with a 3 meter there? And what's that, a 2? Yeah, will it still turn? Yes, it will. Good. That's good. Okay, see if I can do the same thing here. I don't think so, because these things tend to get in the way. I can mount them on the other end, possibly. Possibly. Alright, let's go with a 2 meter. One there and one there. Will it still turn? Yes, it will. I'm constantly checking that, the will it still turn factor, because too often I have built turrets only to realize that, it won't turn anymore. It's really annoying. Because then you have to go back into your turret and go, okay, what do I need to remove in order to make sure the thing will turn? Which gets a bit tedious. Triangle corner. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Yeah, I like this. Looks like a bit of a thunderstorm on the surface. Nothing too serious, I hope. Let's go with an AI connector here. And I want to give it a large 9 meter rangefinder. This thing, of course, will need to be hooked up to the main AI. So I'm going to give it an AI wireless receiver. There. Auto adjust these sensors. I think that covers it quite nicely. Or actually, no, I need to make sure that this thing is covered as well. There. It's not the best turret I've built, but I think it'll get the job done. 1 meter triangle corner, I think. Like that? Whatever. Okay, so we got one turret. Just one so far. But it is a 4 meter or 4 barrel 201mm gun. And I can just copy this thing over again. But in the lower sections of the hull, or the further sections of the hull, I don't need to. Because I got more room. Which means I can build an even bigger turret over there. Let's get back to this chair. Point is also that that second turret's going to have to be a bit higher. It's going to be over firing or super firing on this turret. So a new 1-axis turret. On the other hand, if I do get hit in that turret, or if I do make a, let's say, a super firing turret of 6 barrels, and it gets hit, then I'm in a world of hurt. Because there's not much that I can do to not lose the turret. So that's a bit of a design consideration. About a 3 meter. Okay, so here I'm going to go with 3 firing pieces. This is going to be a bigger gun, in the sense of a bigger gauge. Much, much higher caliber. Now the tricky part is to make sure that these things never touch. The moment that they start touching, you get all sorts of weird systems. 400 millimeters, 348, 402, 456, 500 millimeter guns. If that doesn't kill stuff, then I don't know what will. Gotta make sure that these things are splitters. These things are gonna take a long time to reload. There's not that much I can do about that. Also, the turret's gonna be gigantic. I mean, look at it. I mean, I have to close off an entire section of the hull just for that thing. Which should make it interesting. I'm going to cool this thing all day. And I think I can mount the ammunition controller on this section. That should work. There's quite a few ammo customizers involved in this one. They're not connected? Yeah, I set that thing up wrong. That it? Yep, that's it. Okay, bigger shell. Way bigger shell. Base bleeder. HE rounds. And I want to have, I think I forgot that, an inertial fuse, so that if the angle is getting too high, it won't bounce, but it will still detonate. We're talking 500 millimeter guns. 7 meter shell rack needed for this 6300 millimeter shell. It does 24,000 points of kinetic damage, explosive radius of 25 meters, and it has an explosive damage of 6,000. So that thing is really going to leave a mark. Now that means I'm going to need really big autoloaders. Look at that monster. I hope I'm even going to be able to fit more of these things. One like that. Can I add one more? No. These things can only fit 1 or 2 rounds, probably. Oh, I hope that this thing can still turn. Probably not. Let's try to fit it in there. 8 meter autoloader ammo clip. One there, one here. Like that. You're going to have that one. You're going to have that one. These shells are going to be really expensive as well. Ammo cost 400 points for 1 round. Holy moly. Yeah, that's expensive. Okay, same thing over here. And I do realize that this thing is going to need quite a few more coolers. And I should be able to fit those. Gauge increase, splitter. I think something's trying to fire at me. But at 500 meters down, I'm not that worried about it actually hitting me. There, that's the cooling system. And then over here, I can have the 8 meter autoloader. Like that, with the ammo clips protruding like that. These over here. And force assign all of those to use that one. Alright. Those are pretty big guns. I'm going to give them the largest mantlet. They are not to be shooting at aerial targets. They are just to be shooting at sea targets or ground targets. Bore evacuator. This thing is going to be ginormous. Look at this monster. Just so we're clear, this ship has bigger guns than the Yamato class battleship. That's how big these things are. There. That's what you call a super firing turret. But also super firing in the sense of, oh my god, those are huge shells. Okay, back to hull design. Once again, I apologize for this not being a very battle-active episode, but it just takes a lot of time to redesign this thing. And I'm probably going to be doing a lot of it off-camera too, because it is simply, well, not that spectacular to watch. Let's see if I close off this section. Can it still turn? Get out of your chair. Nope, it won't turn. It probably has too much enclosure on this end. That's better. Now it'll turn. So 3-meter beams here. And maybe I can throw in some more 4 meters and a 3 here. Nope, that's when it runs into interference here. So this thing really needs a lot of room. It still won't turn. Wow. Okay. Might it be those? Is that better? Nope. So something is blocking the turret. Might be these things. Is that better? Yeah, that's it. Alright, 2-meter beams then? Yep, that's it. Now it can pretty freely turn. I think I can still get away with having it over here. Yep, that'll still work. Good. So then, time for the barbette. Now the barbette cannot be very sizable, because if it is, then this turret is not going to be able to spin freely anymore. So maybe I should have built this turret in some other location. This is going to be interesting to see if it works. I think it will. Let's go with a diagonal slope on the edges. God, this is one ugly warship. Okay, so that's the barbette, or the turret encasing. Then, time to make the turret itself. It would help if there would be a bit more light here to help me see what I'm actually doing. Come on, like that. And then triangle corner. Diagonal slope. What do we need here? I think another 4-meter beam. Three-meter beam. The game is slowing down heavily, so something's just got blown up. It's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait to put this thing to the test. Only to see it get blown up 1 or 2 episodes later, presumably, by something that I was not prepared to kill. Some design element I overlooked, and then the game goes, aha! Nice try. See you in the next spawn. Okay, I'm still... I'm sticking vertically out of the seabed. Yeah, we need to talk about that. Alright, you know what? This is where I'm going to cut it. I'm going to be building this thing off camera for the rest of the time. And then, the next episode, we're going to be hopefully putting this thing to the test and seeing if it actually will float and if it actually will work. So, thank you for watching. Join me next time in case you want to see this behemoth fire and hopefully destroy some targets. Thank you for watching. See you next time.